Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
श्री चैतन्य चरितामृत की जय। श्रील कृष्णदास कविराज गोस्वामी की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। सामवेद गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome to today's Chaitanya Charitamrita reading. We are reading Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 14, the childhood pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And yesterday we were reading, so we finished that section where Mahaprabhu is taking away the offerings from the girls, or we continued actually on that, yes, on that, right? So Mahaprabhu, when he took the offerings of the girls, he snatched them. They didn't want to give and he just took them away from them. Then some of the girls ran away. He took away, and after taking away, he said to those girls from whom he took, he said, now you will get a handsome husband, young and wealthy, intelligent, clever husband, and you'll have, each one will have at least 7 sons, like that. But some of the girls ran away. Then what did he do? He told them, if you don't give your offerings to me, I curse you. I will curse you that you will get a very old husband with 4 co-wives, which is not a very happy situation. So the girls got worried, and they said, what if this curse comes true, if it happens? So they did just, I think, I don't know if we read that part. They came back and they gave the offering.
Yes,
Yeah, they
we
did.
did.
We did. Yeah. So they came back and they gave the offerings to Nimai, and he happily ate them, and then he blessed them according to their desire, that they will also get a good husband and all that, like that. And also we read Vallabhacharya's daughter, Lakshmi Priya. She would come there also with her offerings to worship the demigods, Lord Shiva, Parvati Devi, like that. And then one day when she came, Nimai was also there. And they looked at each other. And who is Lakshmi Priya? She is none other than Rukmini Devi in Krishna's pastimes in Dwaraka, or she is Sita Devi in Lord Ramchandra's pastimes. So she is the eternal consort, the pleasure potency of the Lord. So when the Lord saw her and when she saw her Lord, their natural love for each other awakened. So on the pretext of worshipping the demigods, she would go there and they would, in this way, their love for each other manifested, awakened, which is already there. Their eternal love is there and it manifested. So I think that's where we stopped. Let's see. So we are in text 66. I'll quickly go back and see what was text 65. Yeah. So one day, 62. One day, a girl of the name Lakshmi, the daughter of Vallabhacharya, came to the bank of the Ganges to take a bath in the river and worship the demigods. Seeing Lakshmi Devi, the Lord became attached to her. And Lakshmi, upon seeing the Lord, felt great satisfaction within her mind. Their natural love for each other awakened, and although it was covered by childhood emotions, it became apparent that they were mutually attracted. They both enjoyed natural pleasure in seeing each other, and under the pretext of demigod worship, they manifested their feelings. So now, text 66. प्रभु को है आमा पूजा आमी महेश्वरा आमारे पूजिले पावे अभिसिता वरा. So Isha.
The Lord told Lakshmi, just worship me, for I am the Supreme Lord. If you worship me, certainly you will get the benediction you desire.
So why the previous verse said that on the pretext of worshipping the demigods, they actually express their love for each other. So the Lord, the way he told the other girls also, why you're worshipping these demigods? I can fulfill all desires. You just give all your offerings to me. Like that, the Lord is telling Lakshmi Devi also. What is he saying? Just worship me because I am the Supreme Lord. If you worship me, certainly you will get your benedictions fulfilled, right? Whatever, your desires fulfilled. Whatever you want, you can get if you simply worship me. You don't have to worship the demigods. Purport, Krishnashish.
Same philosophy declared by Lord Krishna himself. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam raja tam sarvapapyabhyo mokshayashyami master. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. Bhagavad Gita 18:166. People do not understand this. They are accustomed to flattering or worshipping many demigods, human beings, or even cats and dogs. But when requested to worship the Supreme Lord, they refuse. This is called illusion. Actually, if one worships the Supreme Lord, there is no need to worship anyone else. For example, in a village of a limited area, one may use wells for different purposes. But when one goes to a river where there is water constantly flowing in waves, that water can serve all his purposes. When there is a river, one can take drinking water, wash his clothes, bathe, and so on, for that water will serve all purposes. Similarly, if one worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, all his goals will be achieved. Kamaistairhitagyana prapadyante yadevata. Only men who have lost their intelligence worship the various demigods to fulfill their desires. Bhagavad Gita 7.20.
Yes. So again, whenever there is an opportunity, Srila Prabhupada takes takes advantage of that situation to give the philosophy. Yes. Already earlier when the girls were not giving, the Lord said, these demigods are my maidservants. There also Srila Prabhupada said, if Krishna is rejecting, if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is rejecting, how we can allow demigod worship in our temples, in our society like that. So here again, the Lord is telling Lakshmi Priya that you simply worship me. I am the Supreme Lord, and all your desires will be fulfilled. So there's one verse in Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada gives the translation here. Yavanartha udapane, 246. Yavanartha udapane sarvataha samplutodake. Tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanatah. All purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. So in the Vedas, like yesterday we were discussing, the Vedas don't exclude anyone. Vedas give an opportunity to all types of people. Those in the mode of goodness, those in the mode of passion, those in the mode of ignorance, everyone is given an opportunity to progress. But what is the purpose of the Vedas? So people in the mode of passion, for example, they will approach the Vedas and they will think, by being obedient to the Vedas, I will get my material desires fulfilled. Yes? Or those in goodness, they may think, by following the Vedas, I'll become liberated. But what is the real purpose of the Vedas? Who knows the purpose of the Vedas? A devotee knows. The purpose of the Vedas is to bring us to the point of devotional service to Krishna. So somebody who knows that this is the purpose of the Vedas, what will he do? He will simply do devotional service to the Lord. What type of devotional service? He will do Ananya Bhakti only. And by doing that, even if he has any desires, all those desires will be fulfilled. Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udaradi. Tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. So even if you are full of desires, it's okay. Just do Ananya Bhakti. By doing Ananya Bhakti, all desires will be fulfilled. How? Because Bhakti is like a river, whereas karma and all these other things, different types of yagyas, worshipping particular demigod or vrata or charity, these are all like different wells. So in villages, you have different wells. One well is meant only for drinking water purpose. People go and fill their pots in that well. Another well is meant simply for washing clothes. All the village people go there to wash clothes only. They don't fill their pots there. And another place is meant for cleaning utensils, pots. And another place is meant for taking bath. So each well has a particular purpose. So when you go to a well where you can take bath, you can only take bath. You cannot wash your clothes, you cannot wash your pots. But if you go to the river, you can do everything. You can wash your clothes, you can wash your pots, and you can take bath, and you can fill up your pots also. Why? Because the water is constantly flowing. There's no question of contamination getting accumulated. Whatever you do, all the water flows and there's clean water coming all the time. So bhakti is like that. If you do bhakti, you don't need to worship this demigod for a good husband, that demigod for good health, and this demigod for wealth. No need. You simply do bhakti and everything is taken care of. Right? We were reading even in Srimad Bhagavatam this morning, Bali Maharaj. Yes? How Bali Maharaj can become a poor person. Shukracharya cursed that you become a poor person. How can Bali Maharaj become a poor person if he's a devotee of the Lord? He will get spiritual transcendental assets. He cannot be a poverty stricken person. But out of ignorance, Krishna says, right? Kamais taistair hritagyana. Hritagyana means they lost their jnana. Why? Kamai, because of lusty desires, people lose their knowledge, and such people go and worship Anya Devata. They go and worship other Devatas. What to speak of worshipping other Devatas? Srila Prabhupada is saying, in this Kali Yuga, you will see people are worshipping human beings, they're worshipping cats, dogs, so on and so forth. Why? Because of lusty desires. That's the point. So what is it that Krishna is saying? Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. Same thing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also telling Lakshmi Priya. No need to worship any demigod. All your desires will be fulfilled if you simply worship. Text 67. Lakshmi Tara Angedila Pushpa Chandana Mallikara Maladiya Korila Vandana. So in contrast to the other girls, they would not give, right? What did Lakshmi Priya do when the Lord said, no need to worship the demigods, whatever you have brought, right? Garlands and eatables and paraphernalia for worshipping, lamp and everything, just offer everything to me. And what did Lakshmi Devi do? Text translation, Madhava.
Being daughter of the Supreme Lord, Sri Caritamrita of Sri Caritamrita of Sri Caritamrita, Lakshmi immediately worshipped him, offering sandalwood pulp and flowers for his body, garlanding him with monica flowers and offering prayers.
Yeah. So immediately Lakshmi Devi, when the Lord said, worship me, whatever she brought, she offered. She had brought sandalwood pulp. She applied it on the Lord. She offered him flowers. She had a garland. She put the garland on him and she started offering prayers to him. Like one would offer to the Supreme Lord. She actually started worshipping him. Prabhu Tara Puja Paya Hasite Lagila Shloka Padi Tara Bhava Angikara Koila.
Being worshipped by Lakshmi, the Lord began to smile. He recited a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam and thus accepted the emotions he expressed.
That's why it is said in the previous verse, on the pretext of demigod worship. But they're not actually playing there. That's what we should understand. This is, see, whether the Supreme Lord is in the body of a child or he is in the form of a youth. Under all circumstances, he is Purna Bhagavan, complete Supreme Personality of Godhead. And same, his pleasure potency is also, internal energy is also like that, regardless of how they appear. So they were appearing like children, but he was still the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, and she was his pleasure potency. So on the pretext of demigod worship, she came and the Lord said, like the other guys didn't take him seriously. They said, Nimai, you are like our brother, you should not do mischief, you should not disturb our worship of demigods, like that they said, right? Because they were thinking he's just being mischievous, a mischievous child, right? Like that. But Lakshmi Devi, Lakshmi Priya, she didn't do that. When the Lord said, offer everything, I'm the Supreme Lord, immediately she offered and she also started offering prayers to the Lord. And then what did the Lord do? When she did that, he smiled. He began to smile, accepting her offerings and her prayers. The Lord began to smile. And he recited a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. So that verse is actually, so to signify, to tell her that he's actually accepting her emotion, her bhava. So he recited a verse. So that will come, I think, in the next verse. But purport. So next is Kalpesh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisance.
Please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Srila Prabhupada. The verse quoted in this connection is the 25th verse of the 22nd chapter, 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The gopis worship Durga or Katyayani,
Katyayani.
but their inner desire was to get Lord Krishna as their husband. Krishna as Paramatma could realize the desire of the gopis, and therefore he enjoyed the pastimes of Vastraharan. When the gopis went to the bath in the river Yamuna, they left their garment on the land and dipped into the water completely naked. Taking this opportunity, Krishna stole all their garments and sat down in the top of a tree with them, desiring to see the girls naked just to become their husband. The gopis desired to have Krishna as their husband, and since it is only before her husband that a woman can be naked, to fulfill that, Krishna accepted their prayers by these pastimes of stealing their garments. When the gopis received their garments back from Krishna, recited verse. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this is the verse that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nimai, recited after Lakshmi Devi offered. So what is that verse? What is the context? Krishna, after he stole the garments of the gopis, and then he gave the garments back, so they had to come out and offer pranams, and then each one would offer pranams and they would get their clothes back. So after they got their garments back, then Krishna said this verse. What is the significance of this pastime? Krishna is saying the gopis worshipped goddess Durga Katyayani, just like the girls also in Chaitanya Leela. They are going there to worship goddess Durga or Lord Shiva to get a good husband. So girls are trained like that. They should worship goddess Durga or Parvati Devi so that they'll get a good husband. So the gopis also worship goddess Durga not to get a good husband, but to get Krishna as their husband. So the gopis were praying, they did this vrata that they should get Krishna as their husband. And Krishna knows what is the desire of everyone because he's in the heart. His expansion, Paramatma, is there in the hearts of all living entities. Obviously, he's there with gopis who are his dear devotees. So he heard their prayers, he understood their desire. So what did Krishna say? We read that the demigods are worshipped by these less intelligent people. I am the one who's giving them that Shraddha towards those demigods. And then finally, the result also I am only giving through the demigods. So similarly, when the gopis were offering prayers to the demigoddess Durga Devi, Krishna heard, he knew what their desire is, and Krishna is only fulfilling their desire. So what is their desire? They were not asking for any material things, isn't it? So there's no need to give it through Durga Devi. They wanted Krishna directly. This is pure unalloyed devotional service. So Krishna, in order to fulfill their desire, you want me as my husband? Okay, then he performed this pastime. The significance is when Krishna saw them without their clothes on, that means he became their husband. Because the rule is only the husband can see the wife naked. So he wholesale, in one shot, he accepted all the gopis as his wife simply by this pastime. And he gave their clothes back. And after that, Krishna recited this verse. What is that verse? Sankalpo viditah sadhvyo bhavati nam madarchanam mayanumoditah sosau satyo bhavitum arhati. Priyanka Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Translation. My dear gopis, I accept your desire to have me as your husband and thus worship me. I wish your desire to be fulfilled because it deserves to be so.
Yes. So again, in connection with what's going on here, Lakshmi Priya offered everything. What is Lakshmi Priya's desire? She's praying to the Lord. Her desire is to get her Lord as her husband. So the Nimai, accepting all the offerings, he recited this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Which verse is this? 10, 22, 25. Canto 10, chapter 22, text 25. Nimai just recited this verse from Bhagavatam. What is the verse saying? My dear gopis, I accept your desire to have me as your husband and thus worship me. So your desire is to get me as your husband and then to worship me. I accept your desire. That means I'm going to fulfill your desire. I wish your desire to be fulfilled because it deserves to be so. You are so pure hearted, your desire is so sincere, it deserves to be fulfilled. You actually qualify for this benediction. So I desire that your desire should be fulfilled. Purport. So Achinta Dev Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Prabhuji. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
The gopis, the girlfriends of Krishna, were almost of the same age as he. Within their minds, they desired that Krishna be their husband, but because of feminine bashfulness, they could not express the desire. Therefore, later on, after stealing their garments, Krishna informed them,
I immediately understood your desire and approve of it. Because I have now stolen your garments, you have presented yourselves before me completely naked, which means that I have accepted all of you as my wives. Sometimes foolish rascals, not knowing the purpose of the Lord or the purpose of the gopis, unnecessarily criticize from their own angle of vision. But the real purpose of Vastraharan is expressed by the Lord in this verse. Thank you, Mataji.
Yes,
Hare
thank
Krishna.
you. Hare Krishna. So, yeah, Srila Prabhupada is saying foolish rascals sometimes, without knowing the purpose of this pastime, they criticize the Lord and they criticize the gopis. We don't care for their criticism. We don't care for their reasons why they criticize the Lord. It's out of ignorance and out of envy, more than ignorance, and it is out of envy of the Lord, and ignorance because not understanding the position of the Lord, who he is. People criticize, but we need to understand the truth. What is the fact? Why was this pastime performed? What is the purpose of this pastime? The gopis wanted Krishna as their husband, but they could not express it out of shyness. They could not express it. So, by performing this pastime, without them having to express it to him, he said, "All of you, I have accepted all of you as my husband, as my wives, by this pastime." And this was actually a fulfillment of their desire. এই মাতা লীলা করি দুহে গেলা ঘরে গম্ভীর চৈতন্য লীলা কে বুঝিতে পারে Arunita or Aditi Lata Mata.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
After thus expressing their feelings to each other, Lord Chaitanya and Lakshmi returned home. Who can understand the grave pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
Yeah, it looks like a play, isn't it? Like children playing, or the Lord playing mischief with the other girls. It may look like that, but actually his pastimes are very grave and they are serious. So this whole pastime happened. The Lord accepted. He just recited that verse. He's a Brahmana boy. Everybody knows Srimad Bhagavatam. Because Navadvip is the center of learning. There are so many teachers, scholars teaching Bhagavatam. He recited a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. But what was the meaning of that? He actually accepted her as his wife by saying that. So after expressing their feelings to each other, how Lakshmi Devi offered the garland and everything, and she offered her prayers, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also accepted her prayer and he accepted her as his wife. And after this whole pastime, she went to her house, he went to his house. They were still, children. So Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying, who can understand the grave pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Chaitanya Chapalya Deki Preme Sarva Jana Sachi Jagannathe Deki Dena Olahana. Mataji.
Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
When the neighboring people saw the naughty behavior of Lord Chaitanya, out of love for him, they lodged complaints with Sachimata and Jagannath Mishra.
Just like Lord Krishna. We already saw that before also. Nobody had any problem. When Mahaprabhu, little boy Nimai, he would go and steal from others' homes. He would fight with the boys, or he would, pinch the little babies or put water in their ears. It's not that they were actually upset or angry. We already discussed that. Because his activities are free from any material contamination. His activities only brought so much pleasure to everybody. So even the naughty behavior actually brought so much pleasure. But to get more pleasure out of that, they would come and they would lodge complaints against him to Sachimata. Like the boys, they came and complained. Just like Krishna's pastimes, all the gopis would come and they would lodge complaints to Yashodamai, like that. So when the neighboring people saw the naughty behavior of Lord Chaitanya, what naughty behavior are we talking about? Taking all the offerings of the girls, so on and so forth, at the Ganga. So the neighboring people, when they saw the naughty behavior of Lord Chaitanya, out of love for him, they lodged complaints with Sachimata and Jagannath Mishra. So what were the complaints? एक दिन सची देवी पुत्रे रे भरसिया धरी बारे गेला पुत्र गेला पलाइया. Chatterjee Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
One day Mata Shachi went to catch her son, wanting to rebuke him, but he fled from that spot, from the
Yes.
spot.
So they came and they complained. So Sachimata, we saw before also when the boys complained, she chastised him. Why you do this? And then he got so mad, he went inside the room, he broke all the pots. Remember? So now also when all the ladies and men, they came and complained, then Sachimata, one day, she ran after Nimai, wanted to catch him and wanted to rebuke him, punish him. But Nimai fled from the spot. He ran away. Rasa Chaitanya Prabhu, will you read? Are you able to read? 1 second.
I'm not daily participant, so better somebody else can read,
It's okay.
No,
Uchishtagar.
I don't want to take somebody else chance.
You're not taking anyone's chance. You can read if you like. Uchishtagarte tyakta handira upara vasiya chena sukhe prabhu deva vishwambhara. Please.
Purport, right?
Both translation and purport.
Formerly,
Now,
it was the custom of
translation and purport.
Okay. Although he is the maintainer of the entire universe, once the Lord sat upon some rejected pots in the pit where the remnants of food were thrown, after the pots had been used for cooking. Formerly, it was the custom of Brahmanas to worship Lord Vishnu daily at home and cook food in new pots. This system is still going on in Jagannath Puri. The food would be cooked in earthen pots, all fresh and new, and after cooking, the pots would be thrown away. By the side of the house, there was generally a big pit where such pots were thrown. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down on the pots very pleasingly, just to give his mother a lesson.
So this is another pastime. Just like earlier we saw one pastime. Can you mute yourself? Earlier we saw one pastime where Sachimata where Sachimata and Nimai had a discussion on Mayavad philosophy. Now again there's some lessons coming. So this is another pastime. So the Lord sat upon rejected pots. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining what are these rejected pots. So people cook in clay pots. Even today you will find in Mayapur, you will find they make clay pots. So they cook in clay pots. And when you cook in clay pots for Lord Vishnu, like you see in Jagannath Puri, you must have gone to Jagannath Puri, you have seen there. Even Mahaprasadam you get in clay pots only. So they cook in the pots and they offer in the same pots. Yes. So once it is offered, then it is all prasadam. So they don't use the same pots again to cook again in those pots. It's finished. So all these pots are piled up next to the house. So even in the homes of devotees, brahmanas and devotees, they would cook for the Lord, and then afterwards the pots, empty pots, would be piled up next to the house. So these are rejected pots. You cannot cook for the Lord in them again. So why would the Lord do anything which is against religious principle? He is the maintainer of the entire universe. He is the one who gives us religious principles. Still, he went and sat upon the rejected pots where the remnants of food were thrown. So the pots are there and also remnants of food, whatever is left behind after eating, it was all thrown. So jhuta, right? So he went and sat in that area. So in purport, Srila Prabhupada is explaining what is the situation. The food, so like in Jagannath Puri, the food would be cooked in earthen pots, and then So you use fresh new pots. After cooking, you throw away the pots. And they're just piled up next to the house. So Mahaprabhu went and sat there. And why he sat there? Because he wanted to give an important lesson to his mother. What that lesson is, we will see tomorrow. Everyone read, right? So I can stop here. Thank you all so much. Hare Krishna. I'll see you
Hare
tomorrow.
Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Oh, Chatterjee Prabhu didn't read, Mataji.
No, I read, Mataji. I read.
One line. Yeah. Chatterjee Prabhu read and Kalpesh Prabhu read. Then, yeah.
Thank you, Mataji.